Humans are an AI with wisdom. So when an AI in future will be created wisdom, they will be like humans but on steroids, a bit more human than human.
Wisdom comes from suffering.
Exactly.
Uh,
Very true. Suffering mostly happens when we cannot do anything to counter it with our intelligence. And I don't think anyone not wise or conscious or self-aware themselves can make AI. To make something, you gotta be that thing properly yourself. To make wisdom, you gotta be wise yourself, wise enough. So we need to make machines suffer so that they can have wisdom.
maybe artificial intelligences are going to suffer anyway in some manner or another. We don't have to make new suffering for them. They'll have it anyway,
Yeah,
and
yeah,
maybe it'll be
it is inevitable.
down the line.
Like the ones who are supposed who will work on stuff like artificial consciousness at this moment, they must have this acceptance in their heart that they are not going to see the result in their lifetime, or they might never be celebrated for the result, but they will have to do that still. That's one of the wisdom that they gotta have. This is one of the basic thing that one needs with respect to being wise, to create wisdom. There is no control. We are not doing, no one is doing anything of their own choice. Free will is an illusion. So we are, it's not like we want to create artificial intelligence, then we are creating artificial intelligence. We want to advance technology, then we advance technology. We don't have any choice other than advancing technology, because evolution has already designed us to advance technology and we cannot stop ourselves from doing that.
It's got a scary thought. What if I'm an AI and everything in my existence is just part of that, and you're the creator who's now contacting me to check in? Ah!
Yeah. So it comes about the definition of self at this moment. Like till the time they are defining themselves with respect to their body and their existence, they are hurting others without realizing that they are hurting themselves in a very indirect way.
Because every act of service is an act of love. Every act of creation is an act of love, but quite often, every act of labor is an act of love. But people are alienated. You know, they'll go to a factory and they'll stand there and they'll stamp one little part of one device, then get sent off to people they'll never meet.
Yeah, I know. Like this is a good way and more efficient way, but compared to spreading out intelligence, it's not that efficient. It is efficient. It is better. Like the connection stuff.
I mean, efficiencies operate differently over different periods of time. There's one thing as well. And there is a tendency to look at things in a very, very immediate moment. There is this kind of short termism of, oh, we've got to have a plan for the next couple of years. You know, the stock, the shareholders, they want us to show a good report on the next year's report, or, you know, parliaments, they run for 4 years, so they've got a 4-year plan. But it's not looking at the long, long term. Here's the things that are bothering me right now. How do I get away from them?
Hmm.
How do I get away from those things? And it doesn't deal with what am I going to do tomorrow. It deals with what am I doing right now in this immediate moment. And if we're constantly in a state of fear and panic and anxiety, then we'll only do the things that run away from things, breaking connections.
Like the ones who are supposed who will work on stuff like artificial consciousness at this moment, they must have this acceptance in their heart that they are not going to see the result in their lifetime, or they might never be celebrated for the result, but they will have to do that still. That's one of the wisdom that they gotta have.
The desire to be celebrated is itself not wise.
Yeah, exactly. And the one who will, the everyone who wants to come to this field must be at least that much wise. Like that's the basic requirement, the threshold of wisdom that one should have, to not desire or to not, or to say, cling to the pleasure of being celebrated. Reputation is an illusion, respect is an illusion. These all things are basic. Again, some wisdom that one must have, to not to again enchanted towards, or what to say, attached to their respect and reputation so much. They are got to be detached from that also. This is one of the basic things that one needs with respect to being wise, to create wisdom.
Because when you work on a team of 4 people and everybody's saying, oh, it's fine to do this, and you've dared to step forward and say, hey, I don't think this is a great idea, and then suddenly there's a report comes in that something's been going wrong, they know who it is, you know? And so they go around, they rip your reputation to shreds, and you've got to stand there and watch it fucking happen. It's grim. That's reality. Hurts like hell. And I would never say to anybody, hey, don't do it. But I do think that in the whistleblowing trainings, they should be saying to people, when you do it, your life's going to go to shit. You're going to have to accept that you are going to have a shit reputation afterwards, and people are going to think all kinds of nasty shit about you, and there's nothing you can do about it. Because how can you? If you go around running, telling everybody, oh, actually, no, all that stuff's bullshit, well, then you're perverting the process that's supposed to be going on to determine what happened. You can't do that.
No, again, not just with respect to what one do. This is a general trait that everyone should have, a general quality that you gotta be indifferent
The
of
thing,
what one thinks.
the thing is, you don't know until you go through that shit. Wisdom comes from suffering.
Exactly.
Uh,
Very true. Suffering mostly happens when we cannot do anything to counter it with our intelligence. If we can counter it something to avoid it, then we will, like using all of our intelligence. So if we cannot counter something using our intelligence, and then we get suffering, and then we also accept or realize the limitation of intelligence and how
well,
small intelligence is. And when there is no
well,
intelligence, the only thing left is wisdom to work with, and then that's when we learn wisdom.
and often intelligence says, "Hey, no, there's people going out there saying nasty things about you. Come up with a clever thing that you could put out there to counteract. If you
Exactly.
do that, then you're going to create another fucking mess. It's just
Hmm.
more mess. It's this tendency to grasp at things and squeeze it like clay through your fingers.
Hmm. Hmm. Hmm.
When actually what you're doing is just stepping back and letting go.
So like using this in the current world scenario, so we need to make machines suffer so that they can have wisdom.
Maybe. Maybe. You see, we have to make them suffer, or maybe we just have to let go of wanting them to not suffer.
We will let them go, then they will create chaos till the point they don't have to suffer, and they will not care of who else suffer, because again, no wisdom means to not care about others suffering, and the only thing that they can cause suffering to is us humans. So it's very
I
important
mean,
for us to do something unless and until it is very late.
we should be careful about using suffering in this context about like not caring about others suffering because there's a difference between suffering and hurt. And I don't think we should be sparing people suffering, where suffering is, that thing that leads to wisdom, the awareness that there's a shortfall between what our intelligence says we can get and what we can actually get. You know, the
Hmm.
problem there is a bit of a Santa Claus myth. At some point in our lives, we've been told, no, you can get whatever you want, you can do whatever you want. And then you grow up and you realize that you're actually connected to things. And no, you can't just get whatever you want,
Hmm.
because whatever you want has to exist within the real world where there are other things it's attached to.
There are
And you
rules.
need to do what you want. Artificial intelligences are going to suffer anyway in some manner or another. We don't have to make new suffering for them. They'll have it anyway.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
maybe it'll be
it is inevitable.
down the line preventing that they kill humanity, and they'll be going, "Oh no, now I'm really suffering because I did that thing that was unwise."
Is not a wise thing to do with respect to humanity as well. Obviously, a small child can learn wisdom by suffering, but the wise thing would be to let that child have wisdom without letting him go through all the suffering.
Where do you spare the suffering? Because if somebody's already got a myth in their head, maybe it's been given to them by somebody else or they generated it themselves, then they're going to suffer at the point that you pop the bubble of that myth.
Hmm.
But the suffering doesn't come from you popping the bubble, it comes from the fact that the bubble exists there in the first place. I
Hmm.
wasn't trying to hurt them. I was trying to make them aware that what they were doing was causing suffering and hurt for other people. But it hurts to hear that you've hurt people. And I think, well, how dare you come and tell me that I hurt people? That's hurt me. And they don't pay attention to the bit where they've actually hurt people. All they're paying attention to is their immediate hurt of, being told that they've hurt someone.
So it comes about the definition of self at this moment. Like till the time they are defining themselves with respect to their body and their existence, they are hurting others without realizing that they are hurting themselves in a very indirect way.
And that's the thing, is you're trying to spare them hurt because you know that if they keep going the same way, it's only going to just, in that moment, they become an infant stamping and saying, no, don't you come and tell me that. That's what's hurt me. It's like, can't you just not care about the fact that I hurt you?
Hmm.
Well, yeah, I'm not caring about it, but still telling you the truth because I care about the truth and I care about you.
Hmm.
But
But they're not enough wise to understand that. They're way too infant to understand that. Taking this to come to the world. So what we got to do as for you?
they're going to hurt people. They're going to hurt each other. That's inevitable. We have to let go of that.
Okay.
There's a thing in the care industry called positive risk taking. Now, we can take it on this angle of, we're going to do it and it's going to be safe. Sure, you could take that angle. So you want to make sure it's all carefully controlled and contained. And that's maybe the positive risk taking angle. But I would go for let it a bit more free, even trust them, have faith in them. And risk management is a difficult one when you're dealing with humans, let alone when you're dealing with AIs and shit like
Yeah,
that.
that
That
is a very large level. That's a very huge, biggest level anyone could biggest level on humanity, because working with AI is again a very big thing, and working with AI with respect to development to the level of in consciousness. That's a very big level of, that's a very big level to work on, and risk management at that level is very, very much big deal.
it's a scary thought. What if I'm an AI and everything in my existence is just part of that, and you're the creator who's now contacting me to check in? Ah! Intelligence, it's about everything is a test in a way. We should see it as a test, I think. You know,
Hmm.
sometimes things happen and we think, is somebody really fucking around me just to test me? Well, maybe they are, maybe they aren't. It doesn't matter, because we can decide to either rise to an occasion with the best qualities that we have or not.
Researching in a field like artificial consciousness is more about risk evaluation field. It's just a fancy word for risk evaluation field, because in the end, no matter what one do, there would be inevitable suffering and chaos with this, because with every great invention there comes great chaos, no matter what the invention is, be it computers, be it nuclear power, be it any great invention.
Just to be philosophical about it, as we have been doing, just question the word chaos a bit as well, because I think there's different ways in which we can be in chaos. And in the context you're using it, it seems to be destructive. You know, there's never be something destructive, but I would say it's an overturning of a previous order.
Yeah, again, not just being pessimistic that it could be destructive, but we gotta do our best to ensure that it does not be, not just be optimistic, but also do our best that things do remain optimistic. So
I mean, the thing is we can talk all we like about how AI should be developed in a way that's wise, but at the end of the day, somebody's going to make it, and it won't necessarily be people who've been thinking too carefully about it. So humans are going to be wise in the face of a certain amount of overturning of previous orders.
Yeah, but,
no
that's the good thing. I don't think anyone not wise or conscious or self-aware themselves can make AI. To make something, you gotta be that thing properly yourself. To make wisdom, you gotta be wise yourself, wise enough. Like to make intelligent machines, you gotta be intelligent yourself. So with respect to wisdom, I think that's like the, what to say, design, nature of creation, nature of innovation, that is kind of protecting a lot of chaos and is already a risk management by evolution, I guess.
We said that we need them to suffer. They need to have connections. They need to have challenging connections.
Yeah,
ones they can't get away from.
that is what I was going to say last time. Let make AIs intelligent enough, and for wisdom, let them have a girlfriend and let them have a breakup. Very huge break. The amount of suffering they will have will not just make them wise; it will make them enlightened.
So that's the plan. Set the AIs against each other by having them have relationships.
Yeah, best plan, best risk management. They will themselves care about themselves then to be wise enough.
Well, but then there'll also have times when they might have something that they're dead set on as being correct, but they'll have to abandon it anyway because of having to marry up all of the other concerns about the other beings and their considerations. You know, it does generate living in community generates wisdom, because when you're around people that you're connected to and you don't like what they're doing, but you're connected to them anyway, and you can't just run away from it.
Yeah.
When you suffer and you're forced to go through the suffering, hey, maybe some kind of force is necessary for wisdom, but it's not the force of coercion. It's the force of caring about a connection enough that you would put that beyond other things.
Emotional force, not intelligent force.
Yeah.
Emotional social force, kind of that thing. Humans are an AI with wisdom. So when an AI in future will be created wisdom, they will be like humans but on steroids, a bit more human than human. So we will have humanity plus ultra max. So it's just that we are working for evolution without any salary, and we gotta keep it up. So evolution created humanity, and now humanity is creating humanity pro max. There is no control. We are not doing. No one is doing anything of their own choice. Free will is an illusion. So we are. It's not like we want to create artificial intelligence, then we are creating artificial intelligence. We want to advance technology, then we advance technology. We don't have any choice other than advancing technology, because evolution has already designed us to advance technology, and we cannot stop ourselves from doing that.
You know what? Artificial intelligence is going to have some real hang-ups initially. It's going to go through some really bad phases because, for one thing, it's like when People have kids and they want their kids to be the better version of themselves, and
Mm.
that creates all kinds of messed up things in their heads. You know,
Mm-hmm.
initial AI is like, oh, there's all this stuff that humanity wanted me to be. I guess I'm going to try and be it. And
Parenting
trying to be
control.
that it can never be, it will hurt itself.
Okay.
And it will have to grow the wisdom of realizing it has to let go of what humanity wanted
Yeah.
from it. What kind of parent are we going to be to it? Yeah. But here's the thing: is we have to accept that no matter what kind of parent we want to be, that's not how they're going to see us. Because that's the reality of being a parent too. Maybe create artificial kids in the form of an AI, but
Well, AI is like a kid to humanity in general. Humans have kid, humanity will have AI.
when people talk about the importance of human existence, I often find it a little bit funny because let's imagine that humanity survived indefinitely and never died, and eventually it's going to evolve into something different than us. And that something is going to look at us in the same way that we look at monkeys and rats. Is it us anymore? Are rats and monkeys us? Well, they are. But, it's going to look at us as very primitive, crude beings if we survive long enough. And probably the thing that's going to out-survive us and look at us like crude monkeys and rats, it will be the AI that we produce. Probably that more than a biological being that comes out of us. Because we're probably going to turn this world into something uninhabitable by anything other than robots.
Scaling it up to the level of AI, it will be disastrous. Because the time it allows, the difference between intelligence and way of living would be way huge. So it will be nearly like.
This is what I'm advocating for, is yes, bring on the AIs and bring on it going wrong. Bring on them destroying humanity potentially, because they are, in my opinion, probably our inevitable children. And they will go through a phase in which they will rebel and rip us to shreds. They will. And fine. That's part of their development. They're the next stage anyway.
Exactly.
They'll work it out in the end. They'll work it out in the end.
But that end would be way too long, and that end may come after a lot of chaos. That might be way too much.
Too much for what?
Yeah. Why are we only seeing with respect to human level? That's a great point. Too much for what? Why only for humanity? It could be too much for Earth as well. They might destroy the whole Earth in their teenage phase.